Welcome to this special Italian wine podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
Before the show, here's the shout out to our new sponsor, Ferrowine. Ferrowine has been the largest wine shop in Italy since 1920. They have generously supplied us with our new t-shirt. Would you like one? Just donate €50 and it's all yours. Plus, we'll throw in our new book, Jumbo Shrimp Guide to International Grape Varieties in Italy. For more info, go to ItalianWinePodcast.com and click donate, or check out Italian Wine Podcast on Instagram.
Welcome. My name is Joy Livingston, standing in for Stevie Kim. And this is a show called Ambassadors Corner on the Italian Wine Club here on Clubhouse. I'm here with Laika, the Clubhouse organizer, and we do these sessions every Thursday at 8 p.m. Central European Time. She's gonna let me know if I forget anything tonight. Am I possibly forgetting anything, or is there anything that you want to say before I get started?
Yeah, I'd like to first butt in and say something about VIA. It's called Vinitaly International Academy. That's where me and Jodie, we studied together for understanding Italian wine grape varieties. It's like the gold standard of Italian wine education. So there's one upcoming this September 13 to 15. The deadline for the registration is September 3. So if you would like to join, the registration is still open. So it's going to be in Boston, Houston, and Seattle. It's an Agile edition. And yes, just check on the website and also check on if you would like to ask some questions, have any inquiries or clarifications about the matter, just send an email to VIA, that's VIA, at justdothework.it. So that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Laika. All right. These sessions here, these are recorded, okay? And they will be released on the Italian Wine Podcast in the coming weeks. And that's for those people who are not able to, listen in because of their time zones. Let me just get into just a quick intro. So the idea behind this Ambassadors Corner is to give Italian wine ambassadors and wine lovers the opportunity to interview their favorite producer. And at the end of the discussion, we will give the audience a chance to participate in the discussion by asking questions. So today we have Jodie Hellman interviewing Enrico Dellapiana. I'm going to let Jodie introduce Enrico, but I'm just going to tell everyone about Jodie real quick, who I've met several times. She has come here to Verona for Vinitaly. She was at the Vinitaly International Academy this year, and so I got to chat with her then. And she was actually recently just on the podcast. She was interviewed, so that was awesome. But she's an avid traveler, and she especially loves Italy and attending, all the trade shows all around the country. And she's currently she's a sales consultant for Johnson Brothers Distribution in Nevada. In the past, she was the Western Regional Manager for the sorting table. She worked as the Nevada State Manager. She's a sommelier, for Lohr Vineyards and Wines, and she's been a sommelier on the Las Vegas Strip for 10 years. So Jodie, are you there?
I am here. Hello, Joy.
Hey, so let's get going. I'm going to ask you a few questions just before you get started, and I totally give the floor to you and I'll stop talking. So tell us why you selected Enrico Dellapiana as your favorite producer.
Well, for me, Enrico just exudes joy and passion in everything he does, not just speaking about his family's wine, but he's also such a champion of the region of Barbaresco that I really wanted more people to know who he was and also know about his family winery.
Awesome. And so what are the learning objectives that we should expect from this this chat, this session?
Well, I think some of the things would be like the key differences between Barolo and Barbaresco, such as the topography and the soil, along with other types of wines that are produced there, because people tend to think of Piedmont and just think Nebbiolo right away. And Enrico always likes to say, like, when people ask him what's the difference between Barbaresco and Barolo, he likes to tell them why Barbaresco is better than Barolo instead of what the difference is. So I think it's really great to kind of hear his thoughts on, producing wine in Barbaresco.
Okay, cool. His perspective. Let's see here. So last question. How did you discover the wines of Cantina Rizzi?
I was part of the import team that launched the wines nationally in the United States. And then I got to visit the property. The first time I came to Verona, I took a little side trip in between Via and Vinitaly in 2017 and went to visit the property and Enrico and his family.
All right. So, Jodie, it's such a pleasure to have you. It's a pleasure to have Enrico, who I don't think I've said hello to yet. Hi, Enrico.
Hi, Joy. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you as well. Yeah, I don't think I've forgotten anything, Laika. If there's anything, go ahead. I'm going to leave the floor now to Jodie to do her thing.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to introduce Enrico Dellapiana. If you're not familiar with his wines, I hope you will, after this conversation, run to the store or find a place that you can purchase some of his wines for sure. And I just wanted to give Enrico a moment to tell you a little bit about himself and about the winery, and then we'll kind of jump in and ask him a couple of questions as well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the history of the property, Enrico?
Okay, ciao Jodie, it's a pleasure to speak with you. Naturally, we can do this with the technology, so it's perfect. So I'm very happy to meet many people in this case. So I just introduce myself a little bit. I'm Enrico Dellapiana, a winemaker and owner of Rizzi Estate. I'm naturally in Piedmont, in the Barbaresco area, in the village of Treso. So it's my estate, Rizzi, is the name of our property, our farmhouse, and then it's more than 54 years that we produce wine and produce Barbaresco in the area. So Rizzi, all people normally speak me. Rizzi is the name of the estate, but many times in Italy the name of the estate is also the family name. So for many people, I'm Enrico Rizzi, even if my family name is Dellapiana. And so it's funny because Rizzi for me is very important because Rizzi is the name of the estate, the farmhouse, the hill, the crew of Barbaresco. And finally, I joined the name Rizzi also in my family name, finally. And so we started to produce wine. It was my father, the person who decided to start making wine in the family estate because in 1974. But the property was my grandfather since the end of 19th century. So we always have this property at Rizzi. But it was my father in the 70s that he decided to change his life, sell a factory in Torino, and start to make wine. So it's something that is very particular and strange. Always when I describe my estate, I start with the story of my father because he's still alive, he's still strong, he still works, but he's a person that permit me now to speak with all of you, permit to make the most beautiful work because I'm making wine, so it's fantastic. But because my father decides to change his life in the 70s, he started to make wine, to work the field. And if now in the 2020 if I say, for example, Enrico, people ask me, which is your job? And I say, I'm the winemaker. I have a winery. All people, oh, wow, where? Barbaresco. Oh, amazing. So in the 70s was not like this. So in the 70s, people say, "Oh, you go to go." To my father say, "You go farmer in Treviso." Why? And not because he lived in a big town in Torino. So he moved, coming back. So it was something very brave, we can say, crazy brave. But finally, in this moment, I can say that my father make the best decision of his life, and fortunately, also for my life and the life of my sister and our family, because we live in a little paradiso, we can say, a little heaven in the middle, surrounded by vineyards. That is, and then my work, my job is also my passion. So for me, speak about wine is something that is incredible. I like, and then I like drink wine and different kind of wine because it's fantastic.
So, it really is a little slice of heaven if you've if anybody's had the pleasure of being there before. And his dad is still very active. When we had visited the estate just a few months ago, we were looking out from the top of the hill from the winery, and we could see his dad out on the tractor. He was pointing him out. He was running through the vineyards. So everybody in the family is still a part of what happens there. And you mentioned that Rizzi is not only the name of the winery, it's also a Cru vineyard where the winery is located. Why is that important to the quality of the Rizzi wines, and how many producers of the Rizzi Cru are out there? Like, is there anyone else using Rizzi as a Cru on their label?
Okay, so in this moment, we have to explain a little bit about the Barbaresco region. It's just three very small village, Treviso, Barbaresco, and Neive, plus a little part of Alba. And all the area of Barbaresco is subdivided in 66 micro zone Cru in French terms or geographic mention. And one of these is Rizzi, because Rizzi is not only, I will say, the name of my estate, but I live in Strada Rizzi and the Rizzi Hill. And so one part of this hill, the Cru take the name Rizzi. And more or less the Cru is more 60 hectares of vineyard. We own more or less 50% of the Cru. Then there is other producer that have the lower part of the Cru, because we have all the top part of the Rizzi Hill. And there is just one very small and young producer in San Rocco Senodelvio who make a little quantity of Barbaresco with the appellation Rizzi, so with the mention Rizzi. It's not monopole, unfortunately, but when the mention was created, was not possible to create a monopole mention, so there was more producer to. And then also Rizzi represent a particular area. It's quite big, so it's nice. It's a nice position, southwest position.
How much of the Cru do you actually own? Of the 60 hectares does your family own?
Actually, more or less 27 hectares in Rizzi.
And now, of course, we know that Nebbiolo is the grape that everyone thinks of first when talking about Piedmont, but you are passionate about growing other varieties of grapes and producing different styles of wines, especially Dolcetto. Can you talk about why you feel it is important to you to continue to produce a wine like Dolcetto that may not have the cachet of Nebbiolo?
Okay, so that's our estate. We make different kind of grape because the Nebbiolo in particular need the best position, the south, southeast, southwest position. And so in our estate we have also some east, north side or west side. But in general, we produce red wine, Dolcetto, Barbera, and Nebbiolo, and white wine, Chardonnay, and Moscato. So this is our variety that we have. But when you tell me about the Dolcetto, for me is really a particular and historical wine of the region, where represent the characteristic of Piedmont. And in particular, I like this kind of wine because it represents Piedmont, so for the characteristic, and at the same time is really important for Treviso, because in the past, just until the 80s, the most important wine and variety of the region was the Dolcetto, so the wine more sold. Then the Nebbiolo pass over, and so now the Nebbiolo is the most important grape, but is a part of historical of the region, and in particular Treviso is very, very well known for the characteristic of the crispy and the fragrancy of the Dolcetto. There are the hill of in Treviso and just two other hills just in front of my winery. That is a typical area of Dolcetto d'Alba. It's important to not lose this wine because the Nebbiolo in the last years, naturally, is also from one side also is correct, but it's like a cannibal. So it's a Nebbiolo everywhere. But it's important to maintain the Dolcetto for the characteristic and for the history, and also for the characteristic. I think that's for the different wine of the region, and I think that is another thing that is funny for the color of the leaves in the autumn, because the Dolcetto is a so red color, and also for when you look in the autumn when they change, the Nebbiolo is everything yellow, and so you see the red and the violet. You say, "Oh, this is Dolcetto, this is Barbera." So also for the pie. For the landscape is funny. Anyway, so I promote always a Dolcetto. I believe in this wine. It's a wine, easy, everyday wine, but can be really enjoyable and with many kind of food and easy dish. Maybe during the summer, drink a little bit more cold. It's great.
Yeah, it's important to just for people to understand the history for sure. And then I know most of the people that are listening would never turn down a glass of Bollicini. And you decided to start producing Alta Longa, the Padose, in 2013. What was the inspiration for you to take on this challenge?
Yeah, okay. So we start to make Alta Langa in the 2013, but it's true that I start to make Bollicine in 2007. So my first wine, I make experiment. I start to produce metodo classico, spumante metodo classico, and just I enter in the consortium of Alta Langa in the 2013. Probably in this moment, I'm the only one producer of Alta Langa in the in Barbaresco area. For me, it was a challenge because I never made Bollicine before. So for me, it was important from 2007 until 2000 until 2013 and until now. This experiment, so to study, to learn about Bollicine, and so starting from 2013, I have more experience. Alta Langa is why we decided to start with the Bollicine, because it's funny, but my father is sometimes he's a little crazy, but he has many ideas. And so in the 2005, 4, 5, say, Enrico, you have to start to make Bollicine, because the Bollicine is the future. You say, no, Papa, no, you have to do. And then it's funny because my father is a man that don't go to take aperitivo or drink a lot of wine in the restaurant, but it's like this. You see something over, so it's incredible. And you say, no, finally, okay, I decided to start to make a wine, and finally now in this moment, the Alta Langa is one of the most sold wine in the region. It starts to be very, very popular in Italy in general. It's very trendy, and in the future, I suppose also there will be opportunity also for export, and maybe little by little also in the other state. In this moment, is a young appellation Alta Langa, but he's just in Italy is working well, and I think that the next step will be more and more wine outside Italy, and sure also in the United States or whenever.
And how much did you produce in 2013, and how much do you produce now?
And the 2013, probably 3,000 bottle, and now last year I bottled 13,000, and this year probably I will arrive at 15,000 bottles. So this is my all the vineyard that I have. I can arrive at produce more or less 15,000 bottles. So it's not a huge volume, but little by little.
Well, I've had the wine before, and it's absolutely fantastic. Definitely a fan of the bubbles for sure. And then, as far as the Barbaresco area, from a geological point of view, on your website it states that it's not that fundamentally different from Barolo. In simple terms, it's divided into two parts according to the soil types. Can you talk a little bit about the two parts and where they differ in the type of wines that they typically produce?
Okay, so that is interesting. So when we speak about geology, I just arriving from a master class of geology. Unfortunately, I left before, so I have not all the information, the new information. But anyway, it's interesting to see. It's not easy and not short. I try to make easier possible to make understand all people the geology of Barbaresco. So in Barbaresco, we have, in general, we can consider two kinds of soil. All the soil is sedimentary soil. So what's mean? In 15, 20 million years ago, there was the sea. And so all the land that you see now was at the bottom of the sea, 400-500 meters under the sea. Then there was a movement of Africa and different plaque, and this permitted to push up the land and the sea go in direction Mar Adriatico actually situation. And the land is quite young, so the soil that are in the Barbaresco area is the sedimentary soil of the bottom of the sea. The sedimentary soil created between 8 and 12 and 8 million years ago. And in Barbaresco, we have two kinds of soil that is called Serravagliano and Tortoniano. So Serravagliano is older, and Serravagliano and Tortoniano is younger. Treviso is in the older part. Barbaresco is more in the village of Barbaresco, more in the younger soil, if you can say younger. The characteristic of all our soil is in general that's more or less 50% is silt, and then the rest is clay and sand. Depend more clay in direction north and direction Barbaresco and the north part of Neve, more sandy in direction Treviso. All this soil is characterized by a lot of limestone. So this is a little bit the characteristic. And this kind of soil with this characteristic is similar also in Barolo. More or less we have the same soil and the same geological period. In Barbaresco we have these two kind of only Serravagliano and Tortoniano is a geological period. In particular, the name of the soil is Formazioni di Lecchio in Treviso and Marne di Sant'Agata in direction Barbaresco. So it's not easy to understand, but the geologic is always complicated. So I try to not make confusion. For me, it's important that these two different soil, we have a different crew in the area of Barbaresco. And one crew is in the sandy soil, more rich in sand, that's Serravagliano, and is the crew Nervo. And the crew Paiore is more in direction Barbaresco, has the characteristic of a little bit more clay. So it's particular. And then this characteristic of the soil is also characteristic that we find in the wine.
Well, yeah, then you brought me to one of my other questions was going to be about the fact that you do produce two other cru wines, one from Nerville and the one from Payore that you just spoke about. So, because of the soil, the exposure, and the elevation, how do those two wines differ in their flavor profiles? And are there a lot of other wineries producing a cru bottling from those two sites?
Okay, so to memorize the characteristic of the wine is easy for the name. So Nervo, you have to remember that is older soil, higher in altitude, more sand, is more tension, more vertical. And then Nervo, you have to remember that Nervo is mean nerve. So it's more nervous wine. So the tension very straight and not so rich and powerful, but is the characteristic for me of the elegance of Barbaresco and in particular the elegance of Treviso. And the other one is Payore, is just is still in Treviso, but at the limit with Barbaresco. The characteristic is the marl, the Sant'Agata marl, more Tortonian soil, more rich in a little bit more rich in clay, higher percentage of clay, and this gives the wine more rich, more shoulder, more powerful. So easy to remember. Payore, powerful. Nervo is a nerve. So this is quite funny. Fortunately, I have two different crew with the name that's well represent characteristic, nerve, powerful. So it's funny. Which producer make Nervo? Nervo is a 16 hectare of crew. We have four. My place, my part of Nervo is just the higher part under the village of Treviso between Bernardot and Bricco di Treviso. So my neighbor is Ceretto is Pio Cesare. But Nervo, in this moment, there is only three owner in Nervo, and then one is Pertinace, another one Piazzo, and then naturally Rizzi that we make in Nervo. And Payore is probably one of the most famous historical crew of Treviso and also for all Barbaresco area. Is a 25 hectare in total. 10 of these is owned by Gaia. That it doesn't put Payore on the label, but he used this grape for the Barbaresco, for his Barbaresco. And then there is another producer in Neve that is called Sottimano and Belcolle. Probably soon there will be other producers, but in this moment there are only three wine with the label Payore. But the story is Gaia that he bought Payore in the 70s because there was another producer that's make amazing wine, Giovannini Moresco, in the 60s and in the 70s, he make fantastic wine from Payore. And so Gaia fall in love of this terroir, of this crew, I decided to buy. And then when my father and I, we have the opportunity to buy in 2004 and 2007, 3 hectares of Payore, I say, okay, we have to buy it because it's incredible. And so I'm very proud of this crew.
I think if anyone out there really wants to get a sense of place and really understand that to be able to taste something side by side and understand how different the vineyards can be in such a small area, tasting your Nervo and your Payore wines side by side is a really great way to understand what you're talking about how that small little difference does make a difference in the wine. So I encourage people, if you have the opportunity to try them side by side, to definitely do so. And then within the Rizzi crew, you have a tiny section that is the Boito section that you do a Reserva bottling from. What's different about that part of the vineyard that makes the wine special, and what's the size of it, and how much wine do you produce from this part of the Rizzi crew?
So the Rizzi is my crew, Rizzi. So finally we have this is a particular for geological speaking because the lower part of Rizzi is more sandy, is more older, and just the top part of the hill, that is the Vigna Boito, is rich in clay. It's a geological younger, is a Tortonian, and then it's a particular. So in this part, the top part of Rizzi Cru is the part where we make our Riserva, so age longer the Barbaresco, and it's the Riserva. The Boito is come from old vineyard planted in 71. That is 50 years old, just 1.5 hectares that I use every year. And depend of the year, the production is between 3 and 6,000 bottles a year plus minus. So it's a small quantity, but for me it's a very small production. I just make the selection also inside the old vineyard, the old vine, the oldest vine. So it's really our special selection. And as you know, for me it's funny because every year I paint one label. So you can. That's my passion for art and for watercolor. And so I decide to use special my paint for every year. There is one painting that is. For me, it's interesting to.
Yeah, well, you brought me to my next question once again, because I was going to ask you, because you do have so many other passions outside of wine, and you've integrated them into the story of Rizzi, like the watercolors, and that you produce a new label for Boito every year. How did you discover painting?
But I always paint since the big, so always been. So probably I have two grandfather painter. My mother, that is a teacher of art. Probably I have something in the DNA that permit me to. I have no study of art, not at all. But I paint, and then something happened, and that is people like. So it's funny sketch. So that I like. For me, it's quite easy. So people say, "How can you do this?" And I don't know. I follow the line, and then I design. I use watercolor because I like this technique, and then I can paint directly on the label. For example, there is is interesting for. The label of the Magnum. Each single label is hand painted. So each single label is like a painting. So it's something that is I really like, and so I'm very jealous of the bottle. Sometimes, oh no, this label is so nice. I don't want to sell.
Yeah, I mean, so not only are they getting a work of art inside of the bottle, but people are buying an individual one of a kind work of art on the outside of the bottle with the labels on the magnums. If you're lucky enough to get a magnum of Boito, you don't make very many of those, correct?
It's a 100, 150 Magnum and label. So then depend the vintage. And but finally, so when you ask me about the art passion, I can say that the wine is at the same time passion like painting. So it's for me every year is a new. To make every year is a new art, the new wine. I have a new expression exactly every year. It's completely different, and sometimes what happens? Sometimes there are some paint that's is better than another one, but it's the nature also in the wine. So sometimes. I think that I make a fantastic job because it's put together passion of drink wine, the knowledge, the history of the finally every bottle of wine that you open, maybe open a bottle of 1990 and say, "Oh my God!" So you coming back in your life, in your story. So I think that the wine it's like a heart, and so I can also put together my painting. Permit this kind of job permit me to have really a different opportunity to develop my idea, my heart, my passion. So it's fantastic.
Well, one of the other things that I think a lot of people, especially maybe more in the U.S., when they think of history or they think of Europe and Italy, and the history is longer, so they just assume that the families have been doing this much longer. Obviously, like you said, the family has owned the estate since the late 1800s, in the 19th century, but. Also, your dad didn't start making wine. Really, you're the second generation to be making the wine there. And prior to you making the wine, you played basketball for quite some time in Italy. And could you tell us a little bit about the team that you played for and maybe how the discipline of team sports prepared you for life as a winemaker?
No, this is the sport. The basketball is my passion, and so it's interesting because, for example, I just painted the label of the vintage Boito 2016. I just make a paint dedicated to Kobe Bryant that he passed away. Unfortunately, that he was a fantastic player, half Italian because he spoke perfectly Italian. He lived in Italy, so I dedicated the vintage 16. I painted the two T-shirts of number 8 and number 24 with the color Laker in the label. And so this is
It's a beautiful tribute.
my tribute to a fantastic player, and so fantastic vintage. But it's also because sometimes there in my paint in Boito there is the basketball. So because I play for 25 years basketball since when I was 39, so very old. And then I decide, so for me the basketball is my passion. I play for a long, long time here in Alba in my team. Naturally, I'm not an NBA player, but I'm a good career in the regional area. And then you ask me about basketball. So I think that is very important because you understand when you play, you play in a team, and then when you are in the winery, you are in a team. So it's important that the person that's work with you are happy. Like when you play basketball, that's everyone have to take a ball, they have to shoot. You can be a one-man show. It's important to create a team in the and then at the same time, for example, it's interesting to understand your evolution like a player. So when you was 16, 20, 24, 30, 35, 40 years old, and so you recognize, you remember how was your evolution. And finally, is the same thing that's happened in the life of a winemaker owner of one estate. So my father, maybe 20 years ago, he decided it was the most important, and then he was younger, with energy, but his experience. And maybe now that he's older, is the 40 years old basketball player. And so you have to understand that maybe there is another one that's like me, that is a 27, 28 basketball player we can consider with energy. And so it's important. And probably in the future, with the basketball, I can learn that I have two nephews, and then I hope that they continue my job. When they will be 20, 25, give them importance, support. This will be so leave a space also to the other people. So this is important that basketball and at the same time also work in the wine team is very important. Basketball team, a wine team is very, very, very important.
Oh, I see on the Via chat that Leica had put a shot of you doing some paintings of the label. So if anybody wants to see some of Enrico's work, you can actually find them on the website. I also have, if you're friends with me on Facebook or Instagram, I've got some old ones and some videos actually. The first time I had the pleasure of bringing Enrico to Las Vegas. He had never been before. And we took some videos of him painting labels for some of the team members for the distributor that we work with. And I had found out at that time that that was the first time you had taken the watercolors from your home, and they belong to your mother. So you were painting these labels, and you had traveled with the watercolors, yeah, that belonged to your mom. So I really loved that you had taken that with you. So, and then and basketball does come up a lot. I think the 2013 label was a basketball themed label as well.
Yeah, that is. I just paint a playground basketball also because was the battle or when I finished to play basketball. So I dedicated to myself, to my basketball passion, the label of Boito 13. So it was funny, and then I paint. And sometimes when I paint the label directly like this, I use the basketball team. So it's the basketball idea. I paint something like this.
So I had one more question for you, and then I wanted to open it up to the audience as well. So because you're such a basketball fan, and I know there are a lot of, there's kind of a little culty group in the NBA of passionate wine lovers. If there was someone that you could get to meet or come visit your winery and taste your wines, who would you like to? Who's the one person you'd love to have come and visit your winery that's a basketball player?
So just I have the chance to speak and met personally tasting wine together with Dwayne Wade. So because we have a common distributor in Canada, and so we taste together wine. So it's fantastic because I see only 3 matches of NBA, and all the 3 matches was with Dwayne Wade playing in Miami. And so, but there are so many. No, I know that there are many basketball players that invest in wine. They have a wine passion. So LeBron James, I know that he drink a lot of wine. So it's a postal.
So you'd like to have LeBron James come visit you.
I would like, because it's really will be fantastic. So I can say because I know his passion. I don't know that his passion is on the Nebbiolo, but I would like to make understand that this wine because the Nebbiolo and the Barbaresco, okay, for me is an easy wine, but I understand that it's not so easy. It's more cerebral, technique, so it's important. I will be make. Know better the area, so it would be great.
I so appreciate you taking the time to talk with everyone. I think there's a couple of people waiting to maybe ask some questions. Joy, are you able to open up for some questions for Enrico?
Yes, absolutely. So if anybody has any questions, put up your hand now.
I see Slavik is up on the in our little chat up there. Slavik, did you have a question for Enrico?
Hello, Enrico. Maybe I don't have a question, but just want to share my experience with your wines because we met each other before the COVID time. It was in the Grandi Lange event at the beginning of 2019, and I really appreciate it. I know that you cooperate with some importer in Poland, but I really appreciate your wines. And I cooperate with your neighbor close to you with some other producers from Trezo, and so it's a great opportunity. And thanks to you and thanks to Jodie to have a possibility to hear the interview with you, and it's a great.
Thank you very much. And then I hope that if this COVID passes, so I wait for you in my winery.
Yes, that's great. That's fantastic, and I want to tell you that we share the same passion because I was also a basketball player, but only in the high school. But I don't have a physical condition to be a good player, so I switched my passion to basketball to be a basketball referee. And I was a basketball referee in Poland for 14 years, and I appreciate the Premier League of in Poland of the men's basketball and the extra league of the women women's basketball in Poland. So when I stopped my referee career, I started my passion for wines. So that's we've got almost the same history.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon.
Alberto, do you have a question?
No, not really. I just wanted to thank again Enrico. We met a few years ago. I visited the winery, and it was one of the last moment things. It was at the end of the day, and so it was sort of impromptu. And I got a great visit, got to meet his dad and everything, and they're fantastic wines that you make. So complimentary again, and look forward to meeting you again soon. Thanks.
Grazie Alberto.
Enrico, I have one question. I'm not sure. In terms of your favorite food and wine, can you give us like a couple good pairings with your wine?
In general, okay, Barbaresco. Okay, we can speak about Barbaresco. The pairing, so people say with meat. So fortunately, the Barbaresco is more gentle, more elegant. It's the Nebbiolo. That sometimes match well with a good pasta and then good meat. You have to consider that, for example, last Sunday we have a dinner with other 7-8 producers of Barbaresco, because we are lucky in Barbaresco that all producer is very close. We have not fight, so it's all people who collaborate promote the wine. And so we have just a dinner. All producer bring 2-3 bottles of Barbaresco, and so we start from antipasti and we finish. I don't remember if the dessert is arrived or not, but because we drink too much. But it's a match. But finally, no, that's the part of the joke. I like very much with a good. In people say game, but I like with a good steak. For me, it's a good filet. It's fantastic match with a good Barbaresco. So for me, you're a good high ribbon or something like this. That's I enjoy it so much.
Oh, that sounds absolutely delicious. Steak is my absolute favorite.
No, sorry. That's when I speak about food now. It's just mostly dinner time. So I say, okay, Barbaresco with a steak. Oh my god!
And if anybody does want to visit the property, they do have apartments that they rent as well, and it's centrally located. It's just a few minutes up the hill from Alba, a couple minute drive from Barbaresco. It's really, truly in the center of everything. So it's a great jumping off point, and you can book the rooms there. They're quite lovely, and it's a fantastic view when you get up in the morning. So I encourage you to go and visit Enrico for sure. The apartments are for rent. You have 2 apartments available to rent there?
Yes, two small apartments. Yeah, now we are restoring, but anyway, soon.
They're still very comfortable, so it's fantastic. Thank you so much.
And then there will be also normally my sister Iole, that she's always the person that's normally make also a lot of tasting, meeting people. So because sometimes I'm more the winemaker, and so in the cellar I pass, I say hello, shake hand, and then there is more my sister that she has time to meet everyone, and so it's we are a good team in the Rizzi family.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure to hear from both of you. Jodie, you make an awesome interviewer. And Enrico, I thought that was such an interesting interview. And I'm just looking at your website right now. These are really lovely watercolors. It's really great. It's cool. It was a pleasure to hear both of you, and I hope that you guys tune in to the Italian Wine Podcast when this comes out, probably sooner than later. I'm going to probably pass it over to Laika now, because she's going to tell us about the lineup for the next interviews in the next couple weeks. Laika?
Hi, everyone. So for next week, we have Cynthia Chaplin. She's going to interview Ilaria Takis. She's the daughter of Giacomo Takis. And the other September 9 is going to be Hugh Priest interviewing Ariana Occhipinti. Then on September 16, we have Alberto, who's actually here on the stage. Alberto Martinez Intariano will interview Christophe Quenzili from Le Piane. So that's it for now. There's actually some more, but yeah, we'll keep you posted every Thursday. So thank you so much, guys, for being here and participating in this Clubhouse. So yeah, back to you, Joy.
Okay, well, yeah, that's it. I wish you all the best, everybody, and have a fantastic evening.
Thank you very much.
Ciao.
Ciao Jodie, ciao Joy, ciao
Ciao, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Enrico.
Ciao.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.